My name is Adam Suleiman. I am presently the president of the African Evaluation Association, AFRIA. Uh, I am speaking to you from Abuja, Nigeria. One of the greatest lessons that I wanted to share about my experience as an evaluator is the fact that I've learned that I have a very privileged profession, and over the years, I have seen how important and indeed critical my work is to the life of so many people, and how I do it, and the depth of why I do it, as well as the reality in which I do my work, uh, is very, very central to my not just career but also to my conscience. I therefore have found out that the privilege I've been given to be involved in such a career is also a tool to support the system in whatever situation I find myself or responsibility that I carry in terms of discharging my duties. And therefore, I take very seriously moral responsibility, ethical responsibility, and personally a spiritual responsibility. And I think that has counted very much as a plus to my reasonable decision making, and indeed positively I have not found myself regretting any decision I have taken in relation to that. And those who have invited me have always been pleased, in most cases reported the progress of implementing some of the things and recommendations are provided. So for me, it is not just a privilege, it is also indeed a rewarding career. And I will only like to say that I urge it and I pray and plead with other evaluators to give a serious consideration to the responsibility of their career, uh, and then their responsibility in terms of their job. Secondly, I think what I have learned so much is that each experience is an addition and indeed a benefit to my experience and knowledge. I have learned a lot from very diverse and rich environment and actors and stakeholders while doing my job. And I think for me, that had added a lot of value and the insight I have about the environment in which I have worked. And I will always give thanks and appreciation to those people who I, one way or the other, have cause to relate with locally and internationally. I think they add a lot of value to my person, and I do very well. Have nothing to say, but thank you to everyone. Moving forward on the issues of sustainable development goals in terms of the kind of topics that should gain most attention in the environment of evaluation. Uh, I would like first and foremost to say that the SDG Agenda 16 is very, very critical and has underlying basis, if you like, on which other SDG goals can be built upon. Why am I saying this? Is the issue of peace and security cannot be overemphasized in our present day situation, globally and indeed in Africa. Uh, Development cannot thrive if there is no peace and security. And I think the expectations that we have of the SDG can be better implemented if we have a relative peace and security across the world, and particularly across Africa, politically, socially, and indeed across very serious boundaries where there are extreme terrorism, there are inhuman bloodshed, and less regard for people who are displaced, where peacekeepers become people who distort peace by actually taking advantage of a highly disadvantaged group of people. This is very embarrassing and indeed very immoral. And I think for SDG to thrive, we will require a whole change in terms of how things are done, and as well as how we follow up in terms of sanctioning wherever we find such inhuman acts. I would like to see the evaluators focusing so much on peace building evaluation, and this is a very important area that evaluators can advocate and promote peace building and security. And it is an area that is requiring increased number of evaluation experts to converge and work holistically in terms of the agenda to be promoted. So how the evaluation community articulates and communicates this agenda is very vital in supporting the promotion of peace and security. Secondly, I think it is important to have a concentration around peace and security because the resources that are dedicated to providing peace and security, however concrete or artificial, I'm trying to say in terms of politically or diplomatically in terms of multilateral relationship, I think all this matters a lot in laying a basis and a foundation to promote sustainable development goals. Therefore, the more we are able to achieve good and reasonable level of peace and security, the more useful the resources we dedicate to this can be put to address other SDG agendas. And primarily for developing countries, this is very, very critical. While the challenge of economic crunches, bites in the resources of developing countries. Uh, Peace, lack of peace and security bites deeper on where priorities are set to do to do with peace and security. So there's a lot of important necessity to look at peace and security as an issue on topic number one that should get real attention from the evaluation community. Secondly, I think the issue of equity-focused and gender-responsive evaluation should not only give us, it should be a topic really to be discussed heavily and highly central. I think this should not just be a tool for advocacy. I think it is important that evaluators have this very central knowledge and skill about equity focus and gender responsive evaluation. Why? Because it is cross-cutting and it is highly essential, and it is a lens that is useful in almost every evaluation to be used and viewed in terms of depicting the true and fair view of the situation we're looking at. I think it's relevant also in terms of true development. With due respect, I think it has served so much, gender issues, empowerment and equity has served so much as a sponge of development, I think, to some actors. But it is a call, I think, important call on evaluators globally, and particularly in Africa, to really have the skills to be able to express a lot of this in their evaluation work. As we can see, not just central in SDG Agenda 5 and 10, this is actually almost reflective in virtually 15 of the SDG agenda, and this makes it over important. So I think it is a relevant topic, and I think we should promote it as evaluators, but also try to do as much as we can to learn about it so that we can talk about it and then be able to use it to promote balance, equity, and fairness. Thirdly, I think what I wanted to talk about is very, very critical also and central as a topic. I would love to see how evaluation capacity building moves from theory-based concentration to more practical implementation. And why am I saying this? Is because there is so much attention around the typology of evaluation capacity building and the centrality of that approach to evaluation capacity building. What I thought is that while this is so important, I think in the evaluation year, and while this is moving towards SDG inception year, I think it is quite relevant that evaluators who certainly have very huge and diverse skills in the North, in the South, globally, I think it's highly time to put to use And I think effective use and efficient use, the skills we have and the knowledge we all possess, and focus more in sharing this experience and this huge, diverse knowledge, and ensuring that we focus on doing capacity building in a very targeted, basic, and efficient manner. And what do I mean by this is the fact that evaluators need to begin to think beyond their environment. I have always been promoting this, and I find it very, very critical and important. Just like very many people are thinking about it as relevant. Recently, or I think a few months back, Rakesh and Rita Oksanen on the European Evaluation Society platform had an in-depth discussion, very thought-provoking, on the dialogue about the critical partners to evaluators, or for evaluators to consider. Now, this grouping of people are central and critical, not just because of the position they occupy, but I think because of what they can do and the value they can add to evaluation work at very, very high level decision making points. And I think evaluators have more to benefit having these people as partners, our stakeholders as partners. Now, I'm talking critically about parliamentarians. I'm talking critically about the press, that is the media. I'm talking critically also about policymakers who are also central to the work we're doing. Why are they important, I think, and why do I think capacity building should focus in a strategic manner to target this group of people? I think there's also the fourth group, which are the citizens. I think they are also very, very vital for evaluators to target. Now, I think they're very central and important for one or two reasons. Primarily, but and I have stated most of them, but I think they are evaluators who are really not aware of their evaluation responsibility. And therefore, it is a call on the evaluation community to begin to do the job of a wake-up call, if you like, and begin to provide what I call a very basic and strategic evaluation capacity building to the stakeholders. You are not hoping to turn them into impact evaluators or any other type of evaluators. What you're trying to do is to give them the basic knowledge of evaluation and why evaluation is done and how evaluation can be used as evidence to help and facilitate evidence-based decision-making process. That is one. Secondly, I think there is an important corner to market this thinking is also to let these key stakeholders, particularly the parliamentarians and the media, but also the citizens, to understand their evaluation responsibility. I mean, the parliamentarians, wherever they are in the world, have three central functions, if you like. The function of making laws, the function of providing representation to their constituents, and the function of oversight, which for me is basically very important evaluation responsibility. And even within the parliamentary, there is the thing they call over here the planning and research departments, or else they call them legislative budget and research office, For me, that is also the evaluation engine room that also facilitates analytical researches that helps parliamentarians to carry out these central roles and responsibilities. However, there is little or not much knowledge about the responsibilities of parliamentarians as evaluators. And let me not discount the progress that we've been able to make so far since 2014 to now. As I speak now, I think the Conference of African Evaluation Association in 2014 led to the establishment of the African Parliamentarians Network on Development Evaluation, APNOD. And I think in a few days they will be having, I think today or so, they will be having their annual general meeting in Abidjan. Now, there is a global body on parliamentary evaluation, and they are doing great. But I think evaluation community should be appreciative of this progress, but also see the critical gap that is left to be filled, particularly with the SDG shaping up, and the fact that there is need to tighten the focus on targeting national parliamentarians and engaging with them, but also supporting them to identify their position in the evaluation community, and then support them to also use evaluation reports and evidence and show them where and how to get it. And begin to build stronger partnership with them because evaluation has more to gain from that in general. And then secondly is the media. Media is said to be the mirror of the society. Well, you mirror with some evaluation skills, and I think that is also important. I was so proud of reading about evaluation article written by someone in the media a few years back. I was proud because that was a very huge attempt, but I was more happier about the courage to challenge the editorial board and to succeed in doing that and to get that through that through that press organization. To engage with critical issues about an evaluation and to begin to talk about the way forward using that evidence as a basis. I think that was quite engaging. It really raised a lot of discussion and conversation around evaluation. And for me, that's one time I have felt so proud of being an evaluator in my country. And that begins to set a pattern for some serious pressmen to begin to talk about evaluation. I, however, think there is more to be done with the press, particularly the electronic media, the print media, to begin to understand basically and strategically what evaluation is all about, and so that they can begin to advocate as much as evaluators do, but even better than them through their own medium, because they have the responsibility of doing this more than the respective evaluators. So it is very critical that we focus our attention in this grouping stakeholders, particularly in providing what I call the strategic basic evaluation capacity building. Now, the other stakeholders are the policymakers, who are central, and they are central because a lot of decision making is achieved through their support and participation. Evidently, is the, for example, the tabling of the evaluation, at the proposal at the UN. This was only achieved through huge committed uh, work of advocacy by very, very committed evaluation practitioners, but also a unique commitment had been demonstrated by the policymakers because they understand the importance, they have seen the value, and they have taken the credibility more than anyone else of the benefits that is already emerging from this and would be evolving from this decision. Now, this is a critical evidence that evaluators can go very far by engaging in a strategic manner, but also by placing clearly the value addition they are bringing to policymakers and decision makers at highest level. Therefore, I think the evaluation community should focus on policymakers to begin to build bridges of critical partnership that would provide them with value additions to enable them take decisions that are not just critical, but also they are demand driven, and they are also well focused to the priorities of the environment in which they are. Uh, Also, I think it's important for the evaluation community to begin to focus on providing some basic, if you like, strategic evaluation capacity building so that policymakers would not just understand it but also be able to demand for it where decision is required or where there are critical issues that are calling for attention. Uh, Evaluators will gain more from this investment, but I think the value additions for this is huge for policymakers. And we evaluators should be happy to make sure and promote this strategic partnership, as well as be open to allowing policymakers to also earn the credit but also take the credit of working in this direction. So we have adequate evidence, not even within the evaluation community, but also outside the evaluation community, of how central this has been in facilitating key decision making and action by policymakers. The fourth one, which is central and critical but not very visible, is the citizens, the extent to which we provide the citizens with basic and strategic evaluation capacity building, the better it is for the required societal pressure that would put on the front burner citizens' priorities in development decisions. And I think when I say providing the basic capacity building, is getting citizens to understand how to think evaluatively in a very simple and basic manner, but also to begin to engage in monitoring their development agenda and making value additions, but also making criticism where necessary in a constructive and engaging manner. I think this had been highly recognized by the Harvard School of Government around the issues of doing development differently. This is the mantra that is being promoted right now about getting the citizens to drive the development agenda, but also looking at iterative adaptations because things are positive. And for me, I think this can only be achieved when we have a critical mass of citizens who are not just aware, but are having the basic courage and skills to engage with the issues of development. And this also becomes highly critical uh, with the sustainable development goals as we move forward. So, in general terms, I think on the third topic I would like to see being discussed, I think this is very, very clear, and I think for me, these are very, very important topics that needs to take the central stage in promoting and discussing issues around evaluation practice and the responsibilities and priorities I think that should be on the agenda of evaluation community and practitioners as we move forward. Second point or question is about how can concerted effort or action be strengthened be used to strengthen general evaluation practice. Well, this is important, uh, but it's not very much different from what I have been talking about. I would rather say maybe to look at the aspect of partnership, which needs to be taken seriously. Just like I was saying, one of the lessons I've learned as an evaluator is that you cannot do it alone, but you also need committed partners, and you need to work on identifying these committed partners, group of committed partners to promote this agenda. So, mapping and thinking, but also engaging strategically with key stakeholders is one of the huge skills an evaluator should have. We must be able to think politically while we act technically. The two are central, and one compensates for the other uh, in the general sense. So, I think from the evaluation community, we ourselves need to be honest uh, and to have a clear objective of the mission or the objective we hope to promote. But we also need to apply the the mantra around SDG goal number 10 by having, uh, I think, an equitable relationship with different stakeholders while using comparative advantage to promote no, the objective or agenda. And probably I need to stop here to recognize the work of UN Women and particularly EvalPartners. I think for their sake, I am doing this from Africa. And this is what is required, and this is what is important. And I think this is true participation because everyone feels he has a stake in this, and whether we like it or not, everyone has something to contribute. But how you find stakeholders that are central and reflective of the diversity is a skill we require as evaluators, and how we position them to meet the objective is also important. Now, also here, I'd like to recognize the UN evaluation group, the independent evaluation group, uh, the African evaluation VOPES, the IOCE, and indeed the Alliance for Peace Building. I think I have seen very creative and innovative approaches across this divide of people who are creating enabling environment to promote evaluation practice and to position evaluation community to influence policy. The work of UNICEF particularly is important here. UNICEF had centrally some kind of very targeted investment in ensuring the functionality of evaluation platforms, but also the mechanisms that will create that functionality. And for me, this is also very critical, and it's good to recognize it because it also bridges the gap of providing the required advocacy and momentum if these groups are also functional and have the required capacity. The other work around UNDP, I think, is central because of the focus and support on national evaluation capacity development, which is key and systematic. But I also leave this out to say the evaluation community and the role of civil society would help to complement the extent to which this is functional, particularly in Africa. While you are working consciously around the supply side, there is a need to create commensurate demand side participation for collaborative coexistence post-intervention, but created during interventions. But I really think it is a very important innovative work. The other development organizations are doing hugely a lot of things around. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has done so much in the Africa community. The Swiss government are doing a lot, and the institutions like the former RAC in Wageningen, institutions like the IMO, I think, in Brussels, and so many others. MasterCard Foundation are coming out and supporting institutional development, and these are all important mechanisms that will create the enabling environment and capacity, particularly to promote evaluation agenda in the SDG. However, I think this partnership needs to be built upon by looking at how complementary roles can be merged, and how people can know who is doing where, and then there won't be sort of repetitions, but rather replications of action. And I think setting the agenda for this investment should be demand driven and need based than a broad uniform engagement across the platform. Uh, I would say a lot of people are trying, and individual evaluators highly committed, investing their resources very hugely uh, and committing their time. to the evaluation practice for no personal benefit. I think it needs to also be underscored at this stage. Uh, and what we can only say is that some of us, while we transit from one position to the other, we have no choice. It's like we have already taken the responsibility to serve evaluation for the rest of our life. And I would like to appreciate a lot of my predecessors for their work so far. And I would say they gave me a reason to be committed long before now. And I think I am still appreciative that they are keeping the fort. And I hope most evaluation leaders will begin to find their niche in making their contribution to the African evaluation agenda, but also globally. Uh, we are going through a very important year in the life of evaluation historically, and that is the evaluation. Yeah, a lot of things have happened, and a lot are yet to happen, but will happen. I think we should take the opportunity and utilize it to the maximum and see how we can benefit the profession in general. So, for me, in terms of partnership, African evaluation is already in partnership with many institutions to promote this evaluation agenda in Africa. And that is very critical and central. Partnership is one of our core objectives, and our central, if you like, uh, uh, agenda, and we've been able to solidify our memorandum of understanding with various organizations. But also, we're looking at African institutions now to be reflective truly of an African Evaluation Association by engaging directly with the African needs, but also with the African stakeholders on how to promote evaluation and development in Africa. We just recently signed an MOU with the African Capacity Building Foundation, which is really to promote evaluation practice across Africa using our comparative advantages and seeing where we can complement each other. And for us, that is a very important partnership. And it begins to set for us a roadmap on the way and manner we can leverage from but also engage with Africa-based institutions, and to provide for also them uh, services expected of an African Evaluation Association. And I think this is a work in progress. The third question is around the future priorities of for the 2016-2020 Global Evaluation Agenda. This is not far from the conversation we've been having, and maybe it will be building on it. Let me pick up from where I have stopped. I think for Afria, looking at 2016 to 2020, is how we concentrate on really strengthening our partnership with African institutions. Because our focus is in Africa, we need to also be engaged with the stakeholders of Africa to better support SDG in Africa. And like I said, we were looking and we have been able to begin engagement. And there is a clear demand by Africa peer review mechanisms for Africa to write and develop a partnership agreement with them, whereby national VOPs will be involved in peer reviews of African countries. This is a discussion that has started in March, and we're hoping it will culminate into a signed document in a few months. But also, implementing that from 2016 to 2020, we think it's about the practical commitments and the practical action that will be coming from our relation with the Africa Peer Review group. Secondly, we already have had a very strong discussion with the African Union Department on Evaluation, and it's been very promising and rewarding, and it is something we want to see we are engaging with in relation to our priorities for 2016 and 2020. Broadly, this is trying to say that working with African stakeholder institutions to promote African development. We're doing this also targeting to position evaluation with regards to the Africa Agenda 2063. Already the African Union is ahead because the Africa Agenda 2063 had been developed, endorsed, and passed in the last African Union meeting in South Africa. However, there is a clear link between the Agenda 2063 of Africa and the SDG. So where evaluation lies around this is also critical and central. And for us to be able to advocate and position evaluation and the use of evaluation, we need to be partnering strategically with institutions that are responsible for supporting the implementation of the Africa Agenda 2063. Now, we also hope that working with the African Union, we will begin to cascade the relationship from the regional level to sub-regional levels, economic development units, but also to national levels, where you can see a clear linkage between national development plans, so national strategic development plans, with the Africa Agenda 2063, but also directly with the SDG agenda. Now, we can only do that if we are strategically positioned in each in the countries to advocate for this. But also if the citizens and the strategic actors like the parliamentarians, like the press and the media and the policymakers are already engaged by evaluation platforms, naming the national VOPs, to cement relationship that would have impact on national development vision and the monitoring and evaluation of that. We would also be adding value to the process as evaluators by providing useful information and evidence for the decision making process. But we'll also ensure that the periodic assessment processes include rigorous evaluation, but also critical evaluations that would help iterative development, that would also help decision making, and also dedication of resources to national evaluation plans, to national development plans of African countries, but also to begin to use this information to build partnership between countries, but also set agenda for discussion at the African Union level, but also at the sub-regional economic units. Uh, this for us is also a very critical, central, but also important agenda to promote towards 2020. And we feel very confident about it because of the positive feedback we're getting from very important stakeholders at various levels. So while we're working on the SDG, we will see how this is also mirrored and supported at the national level, at the sub-regional level, but also at the regional level. However, this is not a small task to carry out. It is not an easy option, but a very challenging idea. And we're looking to set about 9 to 10 targets for this period, and we hope that will begin to guide our approach to engage with development in Africa. The other issue is also how Africa as an institution is beginning to reform itself uh, uh, functionally, but also to position itself as a credible organization with also a good reputation to support and engage, but also partner with these organizations. How we're able to leverage the required capacity to engage this has is also been thought through beyond the board and the secretariat. I think we all individual association members, VOPEs, and organizations to support Africa's ideas and initiatives in promoting this objective. It's quite challenging so far, but I think it's very promising because we are changing the face of Africa, and we are getting very important response from our teams in the board, but also our constituents who have mandated us and to whom we are accountable in doing this. Issue is also how Africa as an institution is beginning to reform itself uh, functionally, but also to position itself as a credible organization with also a good reputation to support and engage, but also partner with these organizations. How we're able to leverage the required capacity to engage this has is also been thought through beyond the board and the secretariat. I think we all individual association members, VOPEs, and organizations to support Africa's ideas and initiatives in promoting this objective. It's quite challenging so far, but I think it's very promising because we are changing the face of Africa, and we are getting very important response from our teams in the board, but also our constituents who have mandated us and to whom we are accountable in doing this. And I think moving forward, some of our donors are beginning to understand our direction and are supporting that thinking. Uh, Part of Agenda 2063 is also how we talk about the sustainability of evaluation. And maybe it's a bit too early to say now, but what we're looking at is about basic uh, capacity development approach to evaluation practitioners. And this is looking at the Youth in Evaluation initiative, where we begin to develop a crop of young evaluators who would be interested in promoting and pursuing careers in evaluation. We create the interest, mobilize them, create the interest, and then begin to put them up through some challenges that they begin to shape their decision and hopefully become evaluators. Now, I think given the fact that a lot had been raised about evaluation skills and capacity, with what exists, we're going to manage to build up more crop of evaluators in Africa. With the trends in development now around RCT and so on, we will be promoting competency-based capacity building, if you like, and self-development among this crop of young evaluators. UNICEF West Africa and Central Africa, particularly Evaluation Office, is looking to work with AFRIA to come up with an initiative of job placement post-training of evaluators. So we also feel this will create a very good challenge to learn and develop on the job across different organizations. And we hope other organizations will be prepared and ready to support this initiative. The national evaluation platforms are also getting support from UNICEF, Western Central Africa, to begin to look at institutional development in a very strategic manner, time bound, but also with specific challenges. Presently, a call is out for Francophone countries, and by next year, another call will be out for Anglophone countries. And we hope this would help national VOPAs to develop the critical operational and functional mechanisms that would help them to leverage as well as begin to provide services for membership, but also advocate for evaluation within their countries. As our constituents, I think this is an important achievement for us in trying to get them to do exactly what they are set up to do, but also supporting them to explore the available opportunities. So this, for me, I think is also a very, very central way of sustaining evaluation in a more strategic way. We are looking to continue to promote South-South partnership, North-South partnership, and national partnership also with evaluation associations and VOPEs, particularly engaging at the national level with very critical organizations, but being cautious in relating and participating in bids that will put a partner or potential partner at disadvantage of the other. This is a standard mantra that we need to protect, as globally we are looking at a lot, or almost everyone interested in evaluation is a potential partner. We need to provide a level playing ground. So we're looking to do this with various institutions, evaluation, also VOPEs, and individuals to see how this partnership can leverage on promoting SDG in Africa. There are very critical events that we hope would happen within the year to launch the evaluation year in each of the five sub-regions of Africa. In September, I think the one in Southern Africa will be coming up. In November, the Western Africa one will be coming up. The Southern Africa will happen in Harare, and the Western Africa will happen in Abuja, Nigeria. Morocco, I think, is leading the way in the Northern African event. Central Africa and East Africa were looking at yet to come up with in the later part of the year. But these are all work in progress that the regional representatives are handling and promoting right now with the support of the leadership and the board. Moving forward, for us, these are the key priorities for our association uh, uh, in the 2016-2020 evaluation, global evaluation agenda. The global body, the IOCE, I think is also really supporting the development of strengthening initiative that will strengthen the functionality of African VOPAs. And the co-chair is personally involved with me in getting the attention of African VOPAs to engage in the peer-to-peer small grants that would support their learning and sharing with other developed VOPAs so that they can promote their engagement and learn more from this and promote themselves. So this, I think, is an area that in 2016 and 2020 we will explore that opportunity in a very strategic manner by not just making the information available to our members, but also trying to see how we identify mentors who would support them to go through identification of critical learning partners to engage with and modeling that. It's also important at this stage to recognize the American Evaluation Association, who is also having something similar in small grant to support peer learning with American evaluation platforms with other evaluation VOPAs across the world. And Africa, I think, is very central in this important agenda. We have been informed and we're talking and we're seeing the possibility of not just the national VOPAs but also AFRIA pairing up with a group to work on this towards the closing of the call, which is on July 30th. So this is hugely opportunities that exist, but I think it is good to collect information about where such information exists and bring it to the uh, 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 to the to the knowledge of our members and support them to utilize that opportunity. Uh, Majorly, these are some of the things I can talk about here, but I would like to once again reinforce our sincere appreciation to EvalPartners, UN Women, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, and many other partners who have stood by Africa and are willing to continue to stay by it, to stand by it. But I also want to really congratulate African evaluators that the year of evaluation had been remarkable for us, and it has helped to put the African evaluation agenda in a very, very strategic position. And the shift and change in the way we do things in Africa is helping to strengthen the confidence of our partners in us. And I hope we can do a lot more from what we've been able to meet up when we came and leave a lot more for others to take forward. I want to congratulate everyone around the world on the evaluation year. I would say happy evaluation year. And I also want to urge evaluators, not just in Africa but globally, to look at this as a responsibility to position evaluation in the SDG. And we have no other opportunity than this. And I think the groundwork had been done, and I think the action is expected. And African Evaluation Association is always available to support this initiative.